Hello, welcome back to this series of 3D drawing for your model railway. Again, today we're going to continue working on the bogie down here that we started on the last lesson. So you can see we put in the basic shape of the bogie and this first damper spring here. So let's start to look to move across the bogie with a bit more detail. So what I'm thinking of doing now is adding this part in here. It doesn't really have any dimensions that we've got, so we're just going to try and draw something that looks similar sort of profile to what we've got. So for me, I'm going to, let's go front on with a bogie. I'm going to start with just drawing like a rectangular type shape. Let's go back to this one. So you can see how it starts sort of at the bottom of there, slightly above it. So creating a sketch, I'm going to use the side frame of the bogie. Not sure why it's doing that because I'm not moving the position of anything. So I'm going to start from this corner here. I'm going to draw sort of a rectangular shape about something like that. So 1.5 millimeters by 1 millimeter. To find the distance between these 2 points, let's go for 2 mil. And we're going to horizontally and vertically constrain those 2 points as well. Let's have a look. Maybe no, I'm pretty happy with that actually. Okay, so with this, I'm going to select these 2 profiles and I'm going to extrude them. Let's have a look underneath. So I'm going to go in slightly and then out a bit. So I'm going to use two-sided extrusion. I'm going to extrude the back to the back surface, turn it to join. And then the front surface, I think I'm going to come out 0.6. How's that look? No, maybe a bit more than that, because I'm going to come to 1, I think, because that looks maybe about 5-6 inches. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to go with that sort of shape. As we saw on the picture, we've got 2 cutouts on the side here. So to do that, I'm going to draw on the side of that rectangle we've just drawn. Let's use the slice to cut through the axle there. Let's draw a line coming up. How far up does it need to go? I'm going to go, that's about 7 or 8 inches. So maybe 1.4 millimeters. And it comes out at an angle and we've got a little parallel line coming down to this. So if we come across, I'm going to actually, will the midpoint work? No, it's inside the midpoint, so there's the midpoint. I'm going to come in slightly, come up, and then angle. Okay, so let's define the distance between those 2. Okay, so we're at 0.35, and then we can define the height there, so 0.9. And then I think I'm going to round off this corner here, there. It won't let me. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just extrude this inwards, maybe 0.3. Tell that to join that body. Obviously still make sure we're working on the bogie section. And then I'm going to fillet this edge off. Just to round that out a little bit. Maybe 0.2. Again, you won't really notice it when it prints, but worthwhile doing. Let's mirror. Mirror? No, we can just copy it. Let's pattern it. Rectangular pattern. We can. It's not going to do that. No, let's try it. Rectangular pattern. That and that. Direction kind of across. Only 2 of them. I need to get that all the way on the edge. So it's 1.2 because we did 1.2 on the length of the body here. Oh, actually 1.5. It's 1.2 because you got 0.3 of thickness there. So that gives us, I think we're looking at this part here. You could round off this corner a little bit if you wanted to, but I think that's looking okay. There is a sort of slight bow to that, so we could possibly put that in the top surface. Maybe cut. It might be, I can't see whether potentially it's cut back a little bit. Let's try that. Let's cut back just a little bit off, shave a bit off the front there. Just draw a line, maybe like that, to find that distance from the edge. 0.15. Extrude that across. And I'm going to draw on this surface. Actually, wait a minute, let's undo that. Let's go back before that sketch. Draw on that surface there. I want an arc. So, 3-point arc, edge to edge. Find the midpoint. I'm just going to come up slightly. Then I'm going to extrude this inwards. Tell it to join. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. If we jump forwards here, then it'll cut that end off. Yeah, okay, and then it's got a hole in it. Again, it's quite small, so I don't think it'll print, but we can give it a go. I'm going to draw a sketch off of this top part here because we know this is vertical. This is the bottom part's angled, so if we draw on the top vertical part, find the midpoint there. It's going to come down, put a circle, 0.4. Find the height on that line. And then we'll extrude that back into there. It might print, it might fill up with resin, but it gives us a bit of representation there of what we've got. Okay, I'm going to put this circle in the side here. Next, if we come and sketch on there. Okay, let's have a good look at this. So the height's going to start above these. It's going to overlap slightly on here. So if we use a center point rectangle, I'm going to draw it for that position maybe. Let's just not use a normal rectangle. Let's come above it. I think something like that. Okay, let's define the width. 0.7. And the height is 1.25. Height from there. 0.6. And distance from, go for this point there. 0.75. Just fill it off these corners. Does that sometimes, but try it again. Let's do 0.35 because it's pretty much oval all the way around. There's no width that's going on top, there's not. Extrude this, goes all the way through the bogie to the back. So comparing these photos, I think I might just want to make this just a little bit narrower. come back into this profile. It's going to take a little bit of fiddling with this to get this where I want it, I think. Change that to 1.2 wide. You can see how things have now gone a bit skewy with it. So the pattern, we have to redefine or edit that feature. I'm going to bring that back in like that. So that's 0.9. The circle. Edit that. Just to fix that, find the midpoint, draw a line down. And coincidence that midpoint circle to that. The reason I'm making it a little bit narrower is I'm just looking at the photos of this support part for the spring here and where it's going to be. I'm thinking about the thickness for the spring and the damper coming up the side here. So just bringing that in just to compensate for that. Okay, again, just looking for a little bit more detail. I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to create this little lip around the outside here. So I'm going to create a sketch on the front surface and then I'm going to use the offset tool. Thought it might do that. Let's do change selection. So I'm going to do that line, that line, that line. I want that to be on the inside, so it's going to be minus 0.2. Do OK. And then do the same using that line, do minus 0.2. And then the same with this line here. And then I need to close off that one there. I can select these three and extrude them out. It's not going to be massive, but it might create a little bit of a leaf around the top edge of that bogey there. Okay, these little holes here, I'm not gonna print these because I don't think they'll come out. They'll be too small, and I think you'll end up with them getting filled with resin, especially these two. I think what I'm going to do is there's a beam coming across here, so I'm going to just add this in just for a little bit of relief in that position. So again, drawing a sketch on this back surface using a rectangle. I think I'm going to put it about there, come across, so it's in line with these 2 points here. 2 in thickness, height there, find the length then, just height there. Going to go for, I think, 0.9. And if we horizontally vertically constrain that point, the rest of it should work. And then extrude that. 0.2. What did you do there? You cut. You want it to be drawn. Thank you. So it's cutting into here, so that's why it deleted itself. Just looking at mounting. Is there anything else I can mirror? Maybe this. I think there's a hook here. Yeah, it's like a lifting lug. Okay, so what are we thinking? Maybe offset from that line. So constructing an offset plane from that inside profile there, because it's giving it's a bit more of an angle. Okay, that's fine. We can do an offset plane at an angle from, no, not that line in the top there. Create that bit more of an angle and then offset from that upwards. Okay, going to draw on that higher one there. Let's slice through. Okay, shape wise, what is it? So project that. Sort of an out like that, and then maybe another one a little bit higher up, and then tangent arc between those two. Define the angle from there to there. No, not the length. Angle. That's it. Let's go for 25 degrees. Tangency between them two. Define the length there. 0.4. See if that one's stuck. That's 55. That's it. And then define the length there. That's fine. It wants to be defined, so from that point to somewhere. Can I get to that point? That's fine. Okay, I'm just going to click on OK with that and then extrude that to give it some thickness. I'm going to come this way, I think. Maybe 0.3. Make sure it joins. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Let's turn off the construction plane there. Yeah, happy with that, I think. Right, now we've got to this point here. I think that's pretty much everything on this end of the bogie done. So I'm going to copy the bogie across down this centre plane, and we'll start to look to draw this area in here. Now obviously we're going to have to make a compromise with the height of the springs and the spring mountings, because you don't really want this to be sticking up too much above the bogie and then catching on things underneath. So there will be a compromise to be had there. So as I say, we're going to start by mirroring this bogie across. The bogie selected here, and mirror. So we can select the body, which is going to be the bogie itself, and then the mirror plane, I'm going to mirror it down the centre edge here, and it's okay for it to join. Okay, so why is this not copied? That must be a separate body or something. Okay. Right, let's just go back before that. Let's find these extrusions and sort those out. That one. That. Join. Join the rest. Okay, that's fine. So if we can just skip to the end, yeah, that's all sorted. Okay, so as I say, we're going to start to look in this area here. First thing I'm going to do really is get this plate drawn that goes between the two supporting members here. And if you look at that, it's pretty much level with the bottom of the bogie. So we can draw the plate on there. I don't know what's moved there. We're drawing on this plate. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. Snap to that side. I think I'm coming out 0.6. Extrude that. I'm thinking I'm going to come down with this extrusion. I'm not sure why that's cutting that end. That was snapped to that edge. I'm going to come down, take it to join. Probably a bit thick. Maybe go 0.4, I think. Actually, that probably needs to come forward. It's more. Come back into this sketch, edit it. Scroll to the bottom so we're actually looking at the right thing. Right, that's, yeah. Delete that. And we'll constrain that because it should have been, coincidence, that to that corner. Okay, I'm going to make this 0.8. Excuse me. Happy with that's coming out a little bit further. Okay, so now I'm going to be looking to do these two uprights, and you can see from these they're at a slight angle. So we've got to make sure we draw that. But what I'm going to do before we start, I'm actually going to create a mid-plane here. I'm going to do it between these two faces, so those two inside faces. And that's going to give us that mid-plane at the bogie that we can then use to mirror across, because these uprights are obviously copied over. We just turn that construction plane off. I'm going to draw on this top surface here. Slice through so we can see what we're looking at. Okay, so they're pretty much, looking at these, they're pretty much rectangular in shape, just at an angle slightly. So to draw a rectangle at an angle, you need to use a 3-point rectangle. So you're going to draw a diagonal line like that, and then coming across. Okay, so thickness wise, what do we need? I'm going to go for about 0.3. It's obviously going to be quite thick. That's touching the back, so we do need to drag this back line all the way backwards, and I'm going to coincidence it this corner to that line like that. Angle, let's look at angle from there to there. It's coming up at 127, so I'm just going to round that to 120, I think, just to straighten it up a little bit. Distance from there to there, 0.3, and the length, 0.9. Okay. Extrude. Now this is the downside to this slice, is it keeps the cut in. You can't actually see it. Join. There we go. And then we can go back and edit that feature. Okay, so how high realistically? We're looking to go slightly above the top of these arms here. So if we draw that face on. Yeah, you see it's actually, I'm going to go slightly below because I need to have the thickness of this plate, and then I want the springs to be realistically below that, below this top surface. I'm going to go 1.3, I think, 1.3 millimeters. Click on OK. And then I'm going to mirror the feature, selecting that upright. And the plane that we've got down the middle here is plane 6. I'm going to select that. Clicking OK, and we've got these two. There, OK. Right, so the next thing is we've got to draw this plate coming out here. Again, we can just use the mirror plane to get both sides symmetrical. So we're going to create a sketch. I'm going to do it on the top of this surface here. and I'm going to slice it. Okay, so we use the line tool, and if we look at the shape, come out slightly, diagonal, and then across. So if we find the midpoint, it won't snap to, unfortunately. So come out like that slightly, and I'm going to coincidence to that line there. I'm just going to project actually that line, and then I should be able to get the midpoint. Good. And bring that out 0.85, I think, and then that's beyond the end of these. Let's have a look where the diagonal starts, pretty much in line. So if I bring that line from the midpoint there across 0.55, so that's in line roughly with where that is, and then I can diagonal line that to there. Let's just define that. 0.2, distance from there. 2. That's all defined now, so I can select these features. I'm going to give it a 0.3 thickness, tell it to join, and then I'm going to mirror that across. Mirror feature and the mid plane. Okay, so now we've got that little lip here that the spring sits on. And the next thing I'm going to draw is the spring. Now obviously you can see how there's gaps all between the spring. I don't want that because that's a nightmare to support when you're printing it. It's better off just to have that going all the way up pretty solid. So we'll be using a spring on the top here, but just sort of hiding it, the gap between them. Okay, so we're going to create a coil here. So if we create a coil on that top surface, we find them, we might have to draw a line to get the midpoint, we'll see. So we're going to draw for 1mm, and you can see how it automatically draws it upwards there. I want it a little bit higher, so I want to about maybe that position. Okay, so now I'm going to change the diameter of the section. So I'm going to go for 0.3. See how that looks. That's probably a little bit big. 0.2. I think that's better. Edit feature again. I want it to join, and I'm going to change the number of evolutions. So let's go for 8. Okay, it doesn't like it because it's intersecting each other. 7. Okay, is it touching? No, there's a gap all the way down the middle of it. So what we can do there is change the height 1.45, so that just squeezes it up a little bit. Still a little bit too much. 40. Right, so it doesn't like 40, so we're 41. Okay. So they're pretty much touching all the way up. Okay. So we've got 1.41 as the height. Diameter is 1mm and it's 0.2 section size. Okay, and that gives us the coil. Let's see how many coils we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7's probably a little bit too much. That's because we've got this has got the gap. To help make this stronger, I'm clicking OK there, and I'm going to draw a circle down the middle and come up the middle here. So create a sketch on that inside surface. I'm going to slice through it, project that coil surface. I'm just going to draw a circle. Hopefully it'll pick the midpoint up. It won't, which is a shame. I'm just going to draw a circle that will come up the middle like that. Maybe 0.95. I'm not worried too much about its actual defining it. Coming up 1.4 is the height we had, isn't it? Go to join. And what that does is it's just solidified the inside here so that it's constantly touching all the way up from the bottom to the top. I might actually just move it ever so slightly back towards us. Just so that it's intersecting just a little bit. You see how it's touching completely all the way now. That's exactly what I'm after. So that's going to give us that extra bit of strength. I'm actually going to go back to that coil, edit the feature. I'm going to do 7.5 revolutions. No, it might not do that. Let's change this. Because I just want to get that back end, this face of this coil from sitting here to being the other side. Reduce these a little bit. 1.51. So there you go. You can read these. But 1mm diameter, 7.5 revolutions. Height is 1.5mm. It's a 0.2 section size. And so we've still got this circle. Just moving this end from the front here to the back, so you can't actually see the front face of that. Okay, so the last thing really in this area, I'm just going to draw a couple of upright circles to represent these dampers down the side here. So I'm going to be drawing those on this top surface. Let's just slice through so we can see what we're looking at. We'll put it in line with that corner point. I'm going to go for maybe a 0.4, probably a big 0.3mm initially. Define distance to there. 0.2 is defined and distance to there. 0.3. Okay, select that circle and I'm going to extrude that upwards. I'm going to do a join. I'm going to go for maybe coming up 0.6mm. And then I'm going to draw again on the top surface of it. I'm going to rotate it so you can actually see what I'm achieving here. Picking up that midpoint, going slightly bigger, so this one's going to be 0.5. You can see that the reason I've done that is the damper size is small at the bottom and big at the top. Selecting those two profiles, and then we're going to extrude that upwards and click the join. Might just make the bottom one a little bit bigger. And change it to 0.4. Yeah. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just mirror that feature across. Selecting those two features. The mirror plane is going to be that plane 6 that we've got down the midpoint here. And then we've got those dampers on both sides of the screen there. Okay, so you see what we've achieved there. Now, as I say, if you look at the picture, that's supposed to come up way up above the bogie here, but my concern would be that it would then start scraping on the bottom surface here. Yeah, okay, we've got, if we look at the chassis, we've got the chassis here, we've got a gap there, but I'd rather just keep it on that bogie, make it look a little bit more stronger there. And I'm not too worried about the gap because it's not massive, it's pretty much hidden behind the steps which are here. Okay, so that's the spring done. I'm going to leave this video at this point here because I think getting up in length again. We've done quite a bit of tidying up around that bogie. It's starting to look a lot more detailed around there. So hopefully you've enjoyed that and you're able to follow along. If you have, please leave a comment, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.